Okay, so what we have here today is the Stat Sports GPS, the official name being, good question, the Apex GPS tracker. That's this little beast here. With it in the box, you get the charging cable and then the vest. So this is probably a familiar sight, seeing something like this. So athletes wear it over the jerseys, usually in training or game dates underneath. And then at the back, it's just got this nice little sleeve. We sort of slot the pod in, turn it on, and you're away laughing. So what I wanted to bring up today is some use case scenarios, how we've been using it, some feedback, if this is something that someone else has been thinking about using. This could be quite some cool information to find out about it, and just promote a bit of thought. Make sure you're not getting sucked into any marketing hype or anything like that, and just making some really good decisions about the money you're spending and whether it's solving a problem or enhancing performance. So we got these for a couple of main reasons. The number one reason we got this was for our Speed Academy work, and the way that we structured our Speed Academy is we have our in-person speed sessions, and then we require our guys and girls to do their own speed session during the week as well, to sort of reiterate any learning that we did on the coaching session, and just to make sure we're continuing to improve for multiple sessions through a week. So we offer this up to a bunch of our athletes, and what that meant is that when they were doing their sessions during the week, they had some data to rely on, and they could actually do a run or a sprint, and then they could see, okay, that was a good effort, I covered this distance for this amount of time, or this speed that I got to, and they can use the metrics to get some good feedback on the session and sort of see how they went in real time as well with the app, which is quite cool. And then all that stuff synced up, and we saw it as coaches, and then we could sort of see what they're doing with the coaching sessions and then what they're doing by themselves. So that was one of the reasons one of the ways we use these. The other way that we use these was for any of our sort of athletes that were on board with us, we encouraged them to wear them for their games and trainings as well. And what that meant is we got some really good baseline data from what they experience from training load during the week, and then also during a game, and we can make some cool decisions around whether they need top-ups, because we can sort of see what they do in an average game, and then we can make sure that's being closely replicated in a training session during the week. And then so that was a cool way to use that as well. Part of the return to play as well is with this, it meant that we got some good speed baseline data. So then if they got injured, when their return to play process allowed them to jump back on the field, is that they could then perform a speed rep, and then we knew what was good for them, and we could then match that with what process or the stage of return to play to say you're quite far off, or you're pretty much back to where you were pre-injury. So really cool piece of tech for that. Another really interesting way to use this is for that top-up session. And so the main way we use this is we're looking at this high-speed running meters. So high-speed running meters it was anything over 5.5 meters per second. I think it's about 19 kilometers per hour. So it's not super fast, but every meter after that speed zone, it gets recorded as high speed running meters, and it can be edited, so it doesn't have to be it. That's just what the standard is. It can be edited to match more different athletic levels, but it just essentially it's giving a good indication of those high intensity work numbers. Like I said before, to then make sure we're matching game day intensity, and in a training session being able to see after syncing up with the app, and then seeing what the high speed running meters were for that session, and then making a really easy decision. Like, okay, well, that was a pretty low intensity session. Maybe we covered a lot of game day technicality stuff, and it was quite a lot of standing around. Now I know how much extra effort I need to put in. So that was a cool way to use that as well for our guys and girls to make sure that they were hitting speed zones correctly, and then also hitting those workloads correctly. The big question is this something that you need? it comes down to the fact of an answering a question whether you are solving a problem or wanting to enhance performance. So enhancing performance is essentially all those situations that I just outlined, is being able to make some really cool decisions and make sure that you're just at that line of complete peak performance and not pushing over, or you're not well under. And tech like this allows you to gives you that insight of finding out where the line is and pushing as close as possible without jumping over. This is a really cool tool for that, and super important if that is the goal. If you're solving an issue like, you're wanting to do speed work and you're not really sure because, timing gates like, a more serious outfit does. If you're just by yourself, obviously people don't have timing gates. This is also a good solution to that. Being able to see time, or your speed zones and that sort of stuff for training. The most important thing with something like this is it's only good if you do something about the data. So, same with running watches, all this like crazy tech that's coming out in the sports industry. It's only useful if you do something about the numbers or you're wanting to improve them and you actually set action to do so. So it's all good and well understanding, oh yeah, that high speed running needs for that session was X. Okay, cool. But if you do nothing about it, then it's sort of like a waste, especially for the fact that for this bad boy, you are going to be spending 552 New Zealand dollars, or transfer over 326 US dollars. That is a substantial amount of money if you're not doing anything about it. So again, it just comes to value. If you're making action every single training session and you're training your Tuesday, Thursday, and then you're doing your speed on a Wednesday and some other work in between, and you're relying on this data, you're making action, then the investment's worth it. You can spend that amount of money on almost a good pair of boots. So, it comes down to what the value is and what you get out of it. And so it's, that's just something to think about. Okay, so there's a couple of companies that do this sort of stuff. There's the main ones that I've come across are Catapult and Stat Sports, being this one. There's some other one, I think there's one called FirePod, and there's some other companies coming out with them. My review, if someone wants to ask if they should get this brand, the beautiful thing about this is you pay for it once up front, and then that's it. There's no subscriptions. The support is actually really, really good. So if you come into issues, then you reach out to them. The support team's awesome. Other companies, they require a subscription, so you pay a small amount per month and then it's ongoing. So with our academies and stuff, we're able to we've had a total of 10 of these. 5 of them got sent back because they had issues with syncing, they had issues with battery life, all within under a year, not charging properly, not charging at all. And every single one of them either got refunded or a replacement item sent, which means that it was actually an issue because they require you to send it back to them. They do a diagnosis on it, and then if there's nothing wrong with it, if it was user error, they send it back, or if there's something wrong with it, they either refund you or they send you a new one. So that's a little bit concerning to me, having a 50% strike rate on a product that's quite expensive. I'm not super stoked with that. So, but when they work, they're great, but I have a little bit of an icky feeling around them just because of my experience, and it might be just me, but I don't know how it is because it's 5 out of 10, and it wasn't me using them, it was all my athletes, it was different people, different situations, and so that's just a bit concerning. But nevertheless, I just wanted to make this cool little video, nice little review on it. You've got this cool little, just this little button. I don't know how the black comes through at all. It's nice and slick. So you just press the button, you get a beep. I think it beeped on here. And then it turns on, starts to search. It's just looking weird on the screen, but it's not flashing, I promise. And then it just says no GPS, and then it's looking for a signal. So obviously we're inside, so it's not going to find a good signal. And so it just continues to search, and then it will eventually find a signal with a beep, and then you're ready to go. So the way they use this, if you're using it at games or trainings, you can just turn it on. You can even actually just chuck it in your vest first, which is a good way to do it, or turn it on first. Just press the button, chuck it in the little sleeve, It's quite hard to get in because it needs to be nice and snug, which is good. And then you whack it on. Yeah. And then you're good to go. The hoodie look is nice. And then you just wrap that under the jersey, nice and snug. And then, yeah, you just perform your training session or your game. It's on the back, which is nice because you don't take contact on it. And then you can just take it out of the little sleeve, connect it up to the app, that syncs all the data across. You don't have to take the app with you, obviously. And then, because there's memory in here, connect to the app, syncs all the data across, and then you're good to go. If there's any other cool little tech that you could be interested in hearing about, I've used quite a bit of stuff. I'm just going to start to roll these through. I think that I like this sort of setup, and then see what sticks, see what people want to hear about, see what, what's interesting. At the moment, covering heaps of rugby teams, got individual clients. Rugby is the main focus at the moment, which is just the way that it's worked out with the business, which is fine. So any questions around training? We've got high school team. We've got club prems team, and we've got provincial/semi-pro team on the books. So any questions around what they're all doing differently? We've got male and female teams, which is fun, a bit of difference. So any questions around training mode, training applications, what works here, what works there, maybe the differences between the training levels, and any sort of cool stuff that we're doing in between. But yeah, fire through the questions. Have a good one.